Hello everybody, my name is Carrow Brown. I am an urban fantasy author. I also am the executive assistant over at Retribution, and you were just in time for Carrow story time. I did a question on my community wall the other day where I was like, what do you guys want me to talk about in my next upcoming video? And one of the options was my move from hell, so that's what we're going to talk about today. And go ahead, get comfortable. If you got like some snacks, grab that too. There's a drink. We might be here for just a little hot minute. So let me tell you guys something. I'm a military brat. I've lived overseas. I have moved nationally, internationally. I've done it within 6 months. I've done it within 2 years. So I want to make that clear that I am very desensitized to the trauma that occurs with moving. I'm also very used to it. I know how to pack up a box and get stuff up on the truck and basically move on short notice, right? So we're going to go ahead and start off this story in the most ominous way possible, which is when I decided to move from Arizona to Florida at the end of 2020. Carrow, why would you decide to move during one of the craziest years in our history? The short answer is I wanted to be with my dad. That was pretty much it. And there was an opportunity to sell the house and move, and basically we just took it. So once we made that decision and we had somebody that was going to buy our current house, we just started that process of getting packed up and getting ready and buying another property over in Florida, which is the current house that I'm in right now. And that part of the process was not, very strenuous. I was very used to that. And of course, as a Carrow that I am, I had those boxes labeled, color-coded. I had a spreadsheet for them, and I had even taken pictures of some of my material possessions because, if something breaks, she'd like to have evidence that wasn't broken before it moved, right? Cool. Hold on to that thought. While my husband and I were trying to go and discuss the logistics of how we're going to do the move, one of the things that we kind of had in common is that if we could just pay somebody to come and put stuff in the truck and move it for us, let's go ahead and do that. So in some research and data gathering that was done, we encountered a moving broker. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you ever encounter a moving broker, just don't do it. Just go stick with like the big brands and all that other stuff. Go Pod, go Mayflower. I don't care. Just stick with those. Don't do moving brokers whatsoever. But the way that a moving broker works is that they put you in contact with a local mover. They come, they do all that stuff that you're hoping to do, and they move your shit, right? So we got in contact with somebody who came over with the truck on the day that we needed them to move everything. And I encountered the first hiccup when he said that we had too much stuff for the truck. Now remember, I am Carrow Brown. I'm very particular about measuring and knowing how much stuff, and I was pretty confident about what truck we needed, but at the same time, it was a move. I knew I was a little bit frazzled. I may have gotten some numbers scrunched up wrong. It happens, right? So we figured out that part of the debacle, we'll call it that. And the stuff got in the truck, driving off, and we told him that we would see him in 4 days because in 3 days is when we were going to have the keys to the house. And on the 4th day, we would definitely be in there, and he would be there and unload the stuff, and we get unpacked, and it sounded perfect, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give you the first plot twist, which is when my husband and I went and started to drive to Florida, he drove to California. Now, I'm not a master of geology, but last time I checked, 2 opposite sides of the country. We called, found out, he said he went that way and he would be at our house in 3 days. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward because 3 days ended up being 4 months, which is when he got to us. And I was very stressed out at this time because, it's not just about the fact that, my worldly possessions are in the truck. There's definitely a lot of stuff in there that's got emotional value to me, but all my paperwork was in there. A lot of things I didn't think I was going to have to wait 4 months to get. All the stuff that would require me to be a citizen of the state was in there, and I couldn't get a job until I had a Florida driver's license, so I was literally unable to work, right? So I'm very stressed out about that. Won't happen again, by the way, for anybody who's about to put a comment in the section, and lessons are learned. Thank you. And by the time the 4th month comes over, we're discussing taking some kind of legal action or hiring a PI or something to find this mofo. But he says he's going to show up in 3 days. Right. We're just like, oh, another 3 days. That's fantastic. But he actually does. He loads up the truck, and I want you to focus on loads up the truck, which means at some point he unloaded my stuff from the truck. And I know he had to because he sent me a picture of some stuff on the road, basically asking, hey, is this your stuff? And I was like, no, and why would my stuff be out of the truck? You shouldn't have unpacked it, right? But I was just happy that he was on the road. Right, I was just happy. So on the road he was, and everything seemed to be going perfectly. I was counting those hours down so I could have all my possessions and get my life back together, at least until the next afternoon when he sent a picture of the truck in a ditch in Texas. Now, I don't know the particulars. I just know for some reason he was in a ditch in Texas. He sent us a picture of the truck, and I was freaking the fuck out because, again, I have some stuff in there that is a little fragile. One of those is a relic that came from my father's mother, and I was so absolutely confident that if something happened to that relic, she would rise from the grave and haunt me, and I really didn't want to deal with that. But so I was just sitting there angsty. He said he got another truck to come over and they offloaded the stuff into that truck and it was all good. And he was on the road again. And we're like, okay, cool. And he told us I'll be there by 10 tonight. I was like, okay, we'll see you at 10. So obviously 10 turns into like, midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And at that point, I'm getting really pissed off. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I do actually have a temper. And while I was trying to be kind, understanding, and temperate about this entire thing, my heartbeat came out. I was pretty freaking pissed. And so I told my husband, give me a picture of his driver's license, because we took a picture of that. And I went to go look this guy up online to see whatever I could find. And let me tell you, I found him within the first search result of Google on a bailout website. Homeboy got arrested. 2-hour drive past my town, which meant that he drove past my house and another 2 hours and several towns away from me, right? And I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, I had a friend that actually was living out there, and I was kind of like, hey, bro, I got a question. What do you got to do to get, pulled over by the police in that town? And he was like, you got to be doing something really crazy, like, I don't know, like driving on top of your car naked or something. Like, the police really don't care out here. And I was like, oh, okay. But the reason that he got pulled over and he was on a bailout website was because he was driving some way that made the police want to pull him over. And when they took a look at his driver's license, guess what? It was expired. But Carrow, you might be saying, how does somebody with an expired license be able to rent trucks? You can't, actually. That's what I learned very quickly. And what happened was they would not release the truck to him because his name was not on the rental form for the truck. So then who was on the rental form for the truck? They wouldn't give him the truck. Again, his name wasn't on the form for renting the truck, not as a co-rider or anything else like that. And the reason he was not even down as a co-renter or anything else like that was because this particular driver turns out to have been on the blacklist of every major moving truck company here within the United States. Because what he would do is he would claim to borrow a vehicle and do a local move and then do a national move, right? So he's racking up miles and, doing stuff to the engine and things like that. And he did it enough that was pretty much the consequence. So anytime he would try and borrow a truck, they wouldn't let him do it. So he had to get other people to do it, right? And the fun thing about that is when we tried to talk to the company that the truck belonged to, we'll call her lady representative, right? So the lady representative that we talked to was not very forthcoming in working together with us because I guess maybe trying to take people's stuff from trucks happens to occur like with frequency. I don't know. But at one point in our request to talk to her about the nature of our situation, we finally did get the name of the person who did rent the truck, and we went to go look into it because, maybe we can talk to that person. They can call the company and clear some things up. We can get our stuff out of the truck and move on with our lives. So we got the name and we looked it up, and I found him in the first search result on Google as well in the obituary section. I really wish I could make this up. I really do. No, he was in the obituary section. Basically, the day after the driver got him to sign for the truck, he got hit by a semi and he died. So we couldn't obviously get him to come and talk to anybody in regards to the truck. So that's exciting. And at this point, we don't know what to do. We're in contact with the lawyer, and the moment the lawyer became involved, lady representative would not talk to us unless police were present, which was very interesting for me. Maybe somebody who's much wiser about these things can explain it, but it's not like we were going into the office to talk to this person. We were just discussing things with them on the phone, and I'm sure they've got the stuff recorded and whatnot. But she had just gotten to a point where she's like, nope, if police aren't present, I won't talk to you. And we're like, okay, fine, that's great. And I can't remember why my husband called that particular night, but my husband called and he actually got a different representative. We'll call him Mr. Representative. And Mr. Representative, I guess, was like one of the managers of that location. And so my husband explained the situation. Mr. Representative offered, and he made it clear that wasn't really a procedure, but he would go to the truck and kind of creak it open and take a picture on the inside. So at least we could see if our stuff was in there or not, right? So I was like, oh my goodness, yes, peace of mind. At least know if my things are in there, right? Because at that point, we weren't even really sure if our stuff was in there. Like, did my shit get stolen? Like, I don't fucking know. And he goes, he takes some pictures, he sends it, and, we're in the middle of a drive when the pictures come in. And I'm looking at them while my husband is driving, and the very first thing I said was, those are not my boxes. I color code, I label, I know what my boxes look like. Those are not my boxes in the truck. So I was sitting there on the entire drive to my dad's place, because that's where we were going that night, just thinking that my stuff is somewhere out there in the world and I don't know what I'm going to do. But with the Thanks of the lawyer who was able to work something out with the location, we managed to stop the rental car or the rental truck place from auctioning the stuff off in the truck, because that's what happens, right? If you have a truck and it's the goods inside are unclaimed for 45 days, they just put the items inside on auction. And, you know, it's a big truck. We thought maybe something was going on. Obviously, the driver was a little confused about what our stuff was, so maybe somebody else's boxes were in there, and that's what we saw, right? So we had to hold on to the hope that our stuff was in those boxes, right? So thanks to the lawyer speaking to a judge, the judge basically said, if you can provide a list of all the stuff that's inside of the truck, then I will let you take what is ever on that list. And like I told you, I'm very particular and meticulous about these things, so I sent in the spreadsheet. My husband did the good work. He drove all the way over there. He met with the police officers. They all had copies of my spreadsheet, and they're all ticking stuff off as it came out. And what ended up happening that we discovered is the reason that I couldn't see my boxes when he first took that picture is because we weren't the only people there to pick up stuff from the truck. There was another family that had come to acquire all of their goods that was inside of the truck. What our homeboy, our very astute mover, I don't know what to call him other than the bane of my existence at that point, but what he was doing was he was driving past us to go to this other family to go drop off their stuff, and then on the way back he was going to drop off our stuff. But unfortunately he was irresponsible, got pulled over, was in the pokey overnight, and nobody was happy at that point. But that family went and got their stuff, and we got our stuff, and my husband drove back I think it was a 3-hour drive. He drove the 3-hour drive back with local movers who were very good at taking the stuff off the truck and putting it in the house. And he looked at me, and my husband did, not the movers. But my husband looked at me and he said, I'm very tired. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And I said, that's fine. It's my turn to take over. And I went and grabbed my copy of my spreadsheet of all my stuff, and I started to do a damage report. So I'm not quite sure how you blow a hole into a mattress, but my mattress had a hole in it. I had multiple bookshelves. I'm sure you guys have seen some of those in my videos. Of my 4 white bookshelves that I got from IKEA, only 1 made it, and it looked like for them to try and make room, they smashed 3, right? Like just broke them completely. Or it had to do when that driver went into the ditch in Texas and the stuff got jostled around, right? But anyway, so several of my bookshelves got destroyed. I actually had another desk that was in this room, and that was like dinged all to like get out. Like it was really bad. I couldn't wait to replace it. And we had 2 really sturdy office quality desks. Like my husband and I had those for 15 years, still good stuff, great stock. And those were completely destroyed. And when I mean destroyed, I mean like the stuff that was screwed to the underside of like the durable plywood and whatnot had been just snapped completely off. So again, it could have been the move. It could have been them trying to shove stuff in the truck to make room. I don't know. But I think by the time I got done tallying it all up, it had to be at least like $2,000 in damages to my stuff. That was, and there's here's one joke for you guys. There's one box I can never find, and so every time we can't find something that's in the house, we're like, must be in the box somewhere. I don't know where that box is. But Carrow, you're like saying to me at my screen, this is a terrible story. Like, where's the retribution at? Did you sue? I was like, well, kind of. So the thing about trying to do legal prosecution in that situation is I wanted to go after the driver, right? Like I just wanted to go full harpy mode and chase this guy down and just drag him down the street, right? Like I was just so freaking pissed. But legally speaking, we couldn't do that. We couldn't go and track this guy down. And he was honestly spit on the wind at that point. There was no way we could find him without hiring a private investigator. But what we could do was go after the moving broker because they were the ones that were irresponsible enough to hire somebody with an invalid driver's license and all that. So that's what we did. And we tried to do that for a year. And it turns out that the owner of this company is a professional criminal. Anytime there were summonings, he never showed up. He didn't represent. He would not respond to any inquiries or anything else like that. And it reached to a point where we found out that basically we were not the only ones going after this mofo for money. But he was also so skilled at basically weaseling out of those kind of prosecutions and going to court and stuff like that. On one hand, I'm like, that's really impressive. But on the other hand, I'm like, what the fuck is our justice system doing if you've got somebody with a criminal record of repeat offenses? Also, guy has like, I can't remember what particular level it is, but he's on there for animal cruelty, which sounds like dog ring fighting to me when I was looking it up, but not quite sure. I'm kind of throwing it out there just as a thought. But there's a known record of this person doing this over and over again, basically towing the line, yet nobody wants to do anything. But it's to a point where at some point they're going to send, I guess, a bounty hunter after this person, but unless we pay for it, it doesn't happen. So justice on that part is kind of frozen for just the moment because, again, unless we can get him in front of a judge, there's really nothing that can be done. But we do have some paperwork that's on him. So basically, when he does get put in front of a judge on top of everybody else that wants a piece of this guy, he's going to have to owe us a sizable sum of money. I guess the way that works is they put a loan out on you and you stay in prison until you pay the loan off, which, I mean, I got mixed feelings on that. But at the same time, you know, I'm not really fond of people that do dog ring fighting, so I don't really care about, you know, what happens to him if he happens to go there. Now, the fun part is that I moved here to be close to my family, and due to work, my family had to move away within a year of me moving, so that was great. And now I'm in the process of moving again. I'm doing so much self-soothing touches, guys. It's not even funny. But I actually am moving, but I'm moving to Texas. I'm moving to go be closer to Retribution and, you know, be on site for things that need my attention and to basically be closer to my team. So with us being more experienced and wiser about how to do these things, we are definitely more put together and making this happening. Oh, but man, let me tell you. That was terrible. I never want to do that again. But that is the story of my move from hell. It was quite terrible. It didn't have a happy ending, and I don't think anybody won at the end of the day. But people love to hear me tell this story because I guess, like I said at one point, people really get off in hearing the suffering of others. So if you know anybody that might be amused by this story, feel free to share it. If you know somebody who is about to think about using a moving broker, please feel free to send my video their way as well, so that way they can be fully prepared about getting dicked over by some random stranger. But that's going to be me for the day. Thank you for coming in here in Carrow Storytime. I hope you found it entertaining. You're welcome to share your thoughts and impressions in the comment section down below. And I'm going to go unpack. Goodbye, guys.